two of them. Oh, there's contact. There's contact. And there's contact between Cheryl Paul and Campbell Pilling. Good morning and welcome to the Daniel Ricciardo Series. We're here at Clay Pigeon between Yeovil and Dorchester on the south coast of the United Kingdom for round one of this year's DRS Series. 60 drivers all looking towards the 2022 season with aspirations of lifting the trophy and the title of Daniel Ricciardo Series champion. For those that don't know the format, we've three classes with us this weekend. The first of those, the juniors, the DRS100s, and they'll be coming onto circuit for their qualifying session in just a few moments' time. We've also got our smallest, our youngest of the drivers this weekend, the DRS62s, and then our senior category, the DRS125s. We're at Clay Pigeon, probably the more southern circuit in the UK, as we said, right on the south coast, and we're certainly not having south coast weather at the moment as the rain continues to fall here. We don't really expect an awful lot of change either in terms of the weather. For those that are unfamiliar with the Clay Pigeon circuit, it's one of the most historic ones in the UK, it has to be said. It starts with one of the most famous corners. Is it a corner, Billy's Blind? It's more of a kink, isn't it? It kinks left and then into a double apex right. But Billy's Blind is where they will all start their lap here of the Clay Pigeon circuit. They'll then head up to the S's, around the right, left, right, and then down to Sturmey Straight and Hans Hairpin, named after Neil Hann. Onto Buttons, Top Bend, and then to complete another lap. It's not the longest of laps here at Clay Pigeon, but lots of overtaking opportunities around this southwest-based circuit. As we said before, the DRS100s are the first of our three classes to be on circuit today. And due to the sheer volume, the sheer numbers that have flocked towards the Daniel Ricciardo Series in DRS100, we are now looking at a split groups. So the drivers will be allocated a group. That group will be where they undertake their two heats. It'll be also where they have their pre-final. So in theory, we could have two drivers come up, or several drivers come up against each other in the main final for the DRS100 who haven't seen each other on circuit all day, or would all add to an excellent closing stages of today's racing action. And there are some of the DRS100 drivers just preparing themselves for the wet conditions, preparing themselves for a time qualifying session. The result of this time qualifying session will give them a place on the starting grid for the first heat. So the DRS100, you'll have seen it on your screen just earlier on. The schedule for them today is the 11:05. We're expecting Group A, and I'll tell you who's in Group A in just a moment. Just after them, 11:25, Group B will go on circuit for their time qualifying session. We've got heats at 12:25 and 1:45 for the DRS100s. We've got the second heat for the the pre-final for the DRS100s just around about 2:20 and 2:50, and then we have a B final. So for those who are familiar with UK kart racing, a B final, those drivers who haven't quite made it into the top group of drivers for the main final, they get a second chance, and on the continent as a repechage, they'll get a second chance to get into that main final through a B final. And then the grand final for the DRS100s is our last race of the day, 20:05 this afternoon. Let's see if the weather's perked up by then, as these drivers stream out onto the circuit. And we will hopefully be able to get some live timing and keep you up to date and abreast of all the runners and riders for Group A time qualifying. You can see the drivers, or the timing, sorry, on the left of your screen. I can tell you the drivers that are in this Group A, the likes of Maximilian Salarski. And you'll notice that the drivers who have effectively one number on their nose cone, the Nassau panel, they're the drivers who have a seed from last year. So that's where they finished last year's championship. So Salarski third in last year's Daniel Ricciardo Series, the 2021 version. Henry Foote, fifth in last year's championship. He's out there in Group A as well, as is Sherry-Ann Powell, Bryn Calder, Charlie Ratford, Archie Potter, Oscar Walmsley-Jones, Isaac Kite, Daniela Sutton, Aaron Mensah, Tuscany Groves, Jake Woodrow, Ethan Critchley, Tristan Powell and Kai Newman. That is your runners and riders for Group A. They are on circuit at the moment. In just a few moments' time, we'll give you the early indications of who has good pace here. And a lot of you who are following the Daniel Ricciardo Series live today on Facebook or live via YouTube, certainly if you're a fan over a period of time, you'll know a lot of these names from last year's championship as well. So, a couple of laps complete here. All the drivers will get 10 minutes of qualifying to post the fastest possible time, get themselves the best possible opportunity to start the heats from the highest place. Daniela Sutton is currently the early pace setter. The 1:43 of Daniela Sutton has done a 44.356 lap time. Tristan Powell second fastest, Oscar Walmsley-Jones third fastest, then Maximilian Salarski, and now Sherry-Ann Powell up into fifth. She's just about 8/10 slower than the fastest driver on circuit. It is very, very wet out there for these drivers. And I think it was dry yesterday as well, as part of the testing day that these drivers have at every round. So this is a different challenge for these young drivers, 11 to 16 years old. Daniela Sutton, 44.356 is the fastest lap of the session so far. We've still got around about 6 minutes for these drivers. You're looking now at the long double left-hander at the Hans hairpin. Great camera angle as well, giving us a real bird's eye view, a real good indication of the sort of lines the drivers take in the wet conditions. You'll see they're a little bit wider than they would usually be. Drivers would usually try and avoid the rubber that's been put down over a period of time. The drivers head over, start, finish once more. Henry Foote then up into second, and a new fastest driver on circuit is Tristan Powell, who's just crossed the start-finish line, completing his fifth lap of the session, a 44.155 for Tristan Powell, up into the box C, into fastest for the session so far. Now, where is the likes of Bryn Calder and Charlie Ratford? Calder's currently 9th fastest, Charlie Ratford 10th fastest. So the order as it stands at the moment, we're just heading towards half distance in this qualifying session. And it's Tristan Powell who is fastest, the number 154. Second fastest, Daniela Sutton, quite a distance behind really in terms of fastest lap times, as Powell goes faster again. He's got some 0.4 of a second over the rest of the field at the moment. Daniela Sutton is second fastest, but now Sherry-Ann Powell moves up into second and only just behind Tristan Powell, 0.0014, so 0.04 of a second. That's how close these DRS drivers can be. So Powell and then Sherry-Ann Powell, no relation, I don't think. Daniela Sutton is third fastest, Henry Foote fourth fastest, and Archie Potter up into fifth, and Max Salarski is seventh and then goes up to third. So a new personal best for Maximilian Salarski, just 0.8 behind the race leader. Another personal best for Tristan Powell, so he has just extended that distance between himself and Sherry-Ann Powell, who now goes faster. So Sherry-Ann Powell 43.5, a full 1/10 of a second quicker than Charlie Ratford, because he's now up into second place on the timesheets. Tristan Powell demoted from first to third in, well, about 30 seconds there. Archie Potter is fourth fastest. He's the fastest of the rookie drivers as well. Maximilian Salarski fifth. Oscar Walmsley-Jones sixth. Daniel Sutton, the early pace setter, is seventh fastest. Henry Foote eighth. Ethan Critchley ninth. Bryn Calder down in 10th. He's just moved up into 9th at the expense of Ethan Critchley. Aaron Menzer is 11th. Kai Newman 12th fastest. Isaac Kite is 13th. Jet Rudwar and Tuscany Groves are the two at the back of the field at the moment, but it's still Sherry-Ann Powell, that 43.541 second lap time. The most improved driver of the 2021 season. Gave us some thrilling ends to DRS100 races, certainly the back end of the season last year. The fastest so far as Salarski goes up to third, so a new personal best for Maximilian Salarski. He's 2/10 slower than Powell. So where's Tristan Powell dropped to? Dropped down to fourth, just ahead of Archie Potter. So no personal bests this time. Interesting as well, in terms of Sherry-Ann Powell, the way she takes her time is in Sector 2. So she's been the fastest driver in Sector 2 by some distance as well. Ethan Critchley up to fourth place. How long have we got left? So we've got a quarter of the session to go here. 2.5 minutes for these DRS100 drivers. And what will be interesting is just to see the comparison between the fastest driver in the A group and compare that to the fastest driver in the B group. They're due out next on circuit, just around about 25 past 11. So Sherry-Ann Powell, Charlie Ratford, Maximilian Salarski, Ethan Critchley, Tristan Powell, they're the top 5 at the moment as Critchley jumps up 4 places into 4th. Remember, we are live here this weekend from Clay Pigeon, live on Facebook, live on YouTube as well. Feel free to interact with us on those different mediums. Put your comments in to support your favourite driver. So heading now into the closing stages with no change in the top 3. And nobody's gone any faster for a couple of laps now, it has to be said. So Sherry-Ann Powell, Charlie Ratford, Maximilian Salarski, Tristan Powell and Ethan Critchley. That's the only change, as Ethan Critchley just jumped ahead of Tristan Powell a lap or so ago, and then almost instantaneously Powell responded with his personal best, 43.827, which is just around 3/10 slower than Sherry-Ann Powell, who is fastest and doesn't really look to be headed at the moment. Oh, Tristan Powell puts in another personal best and just 1/10 slower than Sherry-Ann Powell, up into second, so he's left it late. And is there any really late movers here with 40 seconds or so to go? And Ratford, so Charlie Ratford has timed this. Has he timed it perfectly? There's still a lap or so left for some of these drivers coming on to their final laps now, but Charlie Ratford's just ducked under Sherry-Ann Powell. Daniela Sutton does her personal best as well, up to 7th. So Charlie Ratford then 43.437, 1/10 of a second faster. Salarski into 4th, Tristan Powell into 3rd, Henry Foote is 8th, and Oscar Walmsley-Jones is 9th. Now then, so the time is up. The checker flag is waving. So these drivers are on their final lap, their final attempt. Now, where are the likes of Sherry-Ann Powell on circuit? Have they been through? Charlie Ratford's been through. He's gone no faster. Right then, anybody faster in Sector 1 or Sector 2? No, I don't think we're going to see anything quicker than Charlie Ratford here, as we just see the 1:43 of Daniela Sutton cross the line. I don't think, Sherry-Ann Powell, is she still out there? Oh yeah, I can just see her coming round into the top bend at the moment. She's abandoned that lap. So Sherry-Ann Powell will not go faster. Tristan Powell goes through in 3rd, and that is going to be that. So the result of the DRS 100 qualifying for the A group subject to any post-race scrutineering checks as well. Fastest driver was Charlie Ratford, the time 43.437. Now keep an eye on that time. Remember that time, because that will be interesting to see how it compares to the B group, who are next up on circuit. So the B group that contains the likes of Freddie Cox, Daniel Weir, Eldon Holland, Liam Karbalov, Maximilian Reed, Ron Marsden, Sam Halley-Hinksman, James Kochelek, Ruby Smith, Jamie Scott, Archie Cole, Joe Wood, Freddie Fowle, Ben Hoy and Cassidy Southall. They are all on the dummy grid at the moment. I'm just waiting for their opportunity now, especially with two split groups like this. I don't think the track conditions are going to change particularly in the next 5 or 10 minutes. So I don't think the drivers are going to experience anything different to what the Group A drivers have just experienced. So we should get a fairly good indication, a fairly good test. And what it would say is that the drivers who we expect to be at the top end of these groups, so certainly your likes of the DRS plate holder Freddie Cox, the likes of Daniel Weir, Liam Karbalov, Sam Halley-Hinksman showed good pace last year as well. They now know what the target time is. So the target time is 43.437. As we said earlier on, there is the schedule for these 11 to 16-year-old DRS100 drivers. Who are due on circuit. The time, and we keep to time here, really clear timetable of events, really well structured race weekends that give maximal amounts of track time to these drivers. As we said before, an interesting, challenging circuit, a really historical kart circuit. All the major championships generally come here. And a good mixture of fast and slow corners, some good overtaking opportunities as well. And later on we'll get out and speak to some of the drivers about the challenges that this Clay Pigeon circuit presents. Certainly one of the most iconic start-finish straights, and runs down to the first corner to Billy's Blind. It's quite a fast section of the racetrack as well, so usually gives you some really interesting first corner, first lap action. So there are the DRS 100 B group. On the dummy grid, the DRS plate holder is Freddie Cox, though drivers who competed in a special one-off DRS event last month. The drivers that won that race, they will be wearing the DRS letters, if you like. Those of you who have been around karting for a long time will know that that's quite a common thing. You used to get a British Grand Prix, karting Grand Prix, and that the winner of that used the letters GP for the rest of the season. There's often open championships where drivers use the number 0. So not a new thing. I remember in Ireland they used to have an IRL plate as well, an Irish championship, who would wear the IRL plate on their car for the rest of the season. So there's been plenty of it. Just seeing there, one of the major changes this year, certainly in the aesthetics, the look of these DRS karts, the nose cone, the Nassau panel, slightly re-engineered, slightly changed on the front of these DRS karts. Certainly gives them a more streamlined, modern look. And these drivers just sheltered by a couple of umbrellas out there. It is quite still just persistent, not really heavy, but there is a persistent rain out there at the moment. which certainly doesn't show any signs of letting up. The weather, you can see in the little puddles there, the splashes of rain. As we focus in on Freddie Cox, I would imagine one of the expected front runners, one of the title challengers. But so difficult to pick from this DRS 100 group. I would fully imagine several drivers to be in the mix come the end of this, well, certainly end of this weekend, but certainly the end of the full Daniel Ricciardo Series rounds. We'll take you through those in just a moment as well. The 2022 season starts here at Rissington. Sorry, Rissington? We're not at Rissington. Starts here at Clay Pigeon. We will go to Rissington later on in the season. The calendar is as follows. We start here at Clay Pigeon on the first day of May, the first of the month. And then we head from here, we head north. We head to Wilton Mill in the Midlands. That race weekend, round 2, the 21st and 22nd of May. And then it's off to Wales, to Glanigors in the northwest of Wales in late June. We then head to Little Rissington in July. Expect the suntan lotion to be required at Rissington. Then we're off to the south of Wales, to Landau in August, up to our most northern circuit. It's closest one to my house for sure, is Houghton Park in the northwest, and we finish at Fulbeck in Lincolnshire on the 29th and 30th of October. It's a 7-round series. Drivers looking to accumulate as many points as they can. They do get to drop some scores. They get to drop their worst scores to make it ultimately a consecutive average of their best results. Means that if you do have a mechanical problem, you do have a failure, you do have an incident, doesn't necessarily mean that your championship is over. You can effectively drop your worst heats and worst final. And it does give us, and that's again a fairly common way of scoring kart race events, but it does give us a champion. It gives us some, well, it will be new champions as well. I don't think any of the champions from last year are in the series again this year, although I will just double and triple check that. All moved on to pastures new, and that's a little bit about what this championship is around. It's about developing driver talent. It's about the Daniel Ricciardo Series Academy. It's about progressing young drivers through kart racing and hopefully ultimately into the junior formulas. And then what a story it would be if we have a Daniel Ricciardo Series driver progress into the pinnacle of the sport. So we're just around about 30 seconds to go, I think. Or as I say that, the engines start and the drivers will prepare to head on off the dummy grid and onto the circuit. The circuit will then, the timekeeping staff will then start the clock, and the drivers have 10 minutes to put in their best possible lap time around this circuit. I think that the conditions here are very similar to the start of the Group A session earlier on. So the drivers head out on their familiarisation laps. They can post a fastest lap, of course, from the first lap. Although you do expect the times to tumble as the drivers get more used to the slippery conditions. So over the line come the front runners. We've got a yellow flag down at turn 1. In fact, we've got a yellow flag down towards turn 3, which is where our camera is, but we just need to pan to the left or right, but there's one there, isn't there? Looks like there's one on the way into the Han hairpin as well. We've still got, yeah, there is one on the way in. There's a spinner on the way into the Han. In fact, there's another spinner down there now as well, so not quite heeding the yellow flags. Ask the drivers to slow down. There's the spinner. To the right of your camera, there is a car that is parked up just next to the Armco barrier on the way into the Han hairpin. We'll try and work out who that is. We should be able to work it out from the timing screen, actually, because we should be able to see who hasn't completed a lap just yet. We're looking down to the 156 of Archie Cole, who in these early stages is 12th fastest of the 15 runners in Group B. If you've just joined us, the Daniel Ricciardo Series DRS100 class, so well subscribed we had to split them. 2 groups. They'll undertake qualifying and the heat and the pre-final within their group, and then they will effectively be put all together for the grand final this afternoon. So the early pace setter here is Liam Karbeloff. So Karbeloff of 44.5. Far too early to compare it to the Group A session just yet, as this session's still in its early stages. But that's around about a second slower than Charlie Ratford was. So Rowan Marsden now goes fastest, the rookie driver, 44.3 for Rowan. Karbeloff second, Jamie Scott third fastest. So Jamie Scott, you may remember from the DRS62 class last year, now made the progression, the step up to DRS100. He's a quick little peddler, he'll know his way around. He could be a threat to some of these DRS100 more established drivers. He's 4th fastest at the moment. Sam Halley-Hinksman is 3rd fastest, and James Kochelek is 5th. Cassidy Southall 6th fastest. Freddie Cox 7th fastest at the moment. And Daniel Weir is 8th. We've still got yellow flags. Where is that yellow flag at the moment? Oh, it seems to have... We've got a driver that's just stuck on the exit of Billy's blind, just before the S's. A yellow flag down here below. There is a yellow flag down here below me in the commentary position over start-finish line. So Daniel Weir goes fastest, 43.9 for Daniel Weir. Rowan Marsden is then demoted down to second, Karbeloff third, Halley-Hinksman 4th, Jamie Scott is 5th, Kochelek is 6th, Southall 7th, Freddie Cox is 8th, and Eldon Holland is 9th. Ben Hoy 10th fastest, Archie Cole just up a couple of places into 11th. Maximilian Reed is 12th. Ruby Smith 13th, and Freddie Farrell hasn't completed a lap just yet. Neither has Joe Wood. We've got another yellow flag. So these drivers are finding these conditions a little treacherous, a little bit slippery out there. As they all stream through once more. Jamie Scott up to 3rd then, and then James Kochelek up to 4th place at 44.3. So 43.9 is the fastest lap of the session so far. 44.1 second fastest Rowan Marsden, Jamie Scott, very similar in terms of lap time. So Scott up to 3rd, Kochelek up to 4th. Ben Hoy is up a place into 9th ahead of Eldon Holland, who is now 10th. Now they've completed 6 laps here, so now is a chance to compare Group A to Group B. So Charlie Ratford 43.4 is some half a second quicker than Daniel Weir is at the moment. In fact, Daniel Weir's time of 43.7, because he has just gone fastest, would only be good enough for 4th in Group A. So Weir got about 0.3 of a second between himself and Jamie Scott, who's now up into 2nd. Sam Halley-Hinksman is up into 4th, and Cassidy Southall is up into 6th. And Maximilian Reed has just made 4 places up into 9th, and Archie Cole is now 8th, 3-place leap for him. What have we got with time? We're just around 4 minutes left here. So Weir, Scott, Marsden, Hallie Hinksman, Kochelek, Southall, Karbalov, Cole, Reed and Cox in 10th place. So certainly not the start that Freddie Cox would have wanted to this qualifying session. So 43.769, fastest lap for qualifying B of the DRS 100s. Archie Cole up to 8th. What's Freddie Cox done? 44.9 for him. So Freddie Cox is he's over a second slower than Daniel Weir and Jamie Scott. So clearly got some sort of problem out there. I'm just watching him go over start-finish line at the moment. A big lift and a little bit of understeer as he went through, and a huge slide through Billy's blind. Seems to be really struggling for grip as he goes through the S's is Freddie Cox. As we look at a spinner there, the 117 of Eldon Holland. You'll see a couple of different colours on the front of these karts. The black plates are the rookie drivers in their first season with the DRS series. The yellow plates, the more established drivers. As over the line once more goes Archie Cole up to 5th then. So Archie Cole has moved up into 5th in the qualifying session. Cassidy Southall is 7th, and there's another view of that spin from Eldon Holland. As the rest of them stream through, and Hallie Hinksman up into 3rd, and Rowan Marsden is now 4th, and Kochelek is 5th. So we're into the last couple of minutes here. They have gone progressively quicker, which is what we saw with the first group. We've seen a lot of spinners. Another spinner down at Billy's blind as well. We'll just pick up who that is as they come back into our view through the S's. It looks to me as if it was the 136 of Maximilian Reed. It was. So Reed, a little spin into Billy's blind. He'll have to abandon that lap. He'll come back again with a vengeance, I'm sure, in the remaining 90 seconds of this qualifying session for the DRS 100s. As they stream through the long right-hander at the Han hairpin. Head up towards the horseshoe. Long left-hander that follows Han's hairpin. They then head up to Buttons, to Top Bend and down the pit straight once more. There's no change in the top 3. Weir, Scott, Hallie Hinksman. Kochelek is up to 4th. Marsden down to 5th, and Karbalov up to 6th. Freddie Cox has made 1 place as well, up into 9th place. He's gone half a second quicker than he had on the previous lap. So I wonder if he's just starting to get some grip from those tyres. If it's just starting to work for him, that Daniel Ricciardo kart. But at the moment, not seeing any purple sectors on my screen, not seeing anyone really start to push towards or threaten the fastest lap of this session so far. And we are heading now towards the last 10 seconds or so. So once will they get through? Let's just have a little look. So yeah, Freddie Cox will get through for another lap, as will the 140 of Sam Hallie Hinksman. But the rest of them are pretty much on their final lap now. This last group of karts going over start finish, so that will be it. Everybody else then is on their final lap. The session has ended. So can Karbalov go any faster? He's just picked up 2nd place. He's only 9 thousandths of a second behind Daniel Weir, and he's got this final lap to have a go at as well. Over the start finish they go. Who can go faster this time? Daniel Weir's just done the fastest first sector of anybody so far. 15.6 through sector 1. We'll keep an eye on that. Can he just solidify that pole position, that top spot? He's gone 17.5 second sector. It's not the fastest, but it's pretty competitive. And over the line he goes. Did he go faster? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. 43.4 for Daniel Weir. So everyone was trying to chase him, he turned the screw himself and put a nice, comfortable cushion between himself and Liam Karbalov. second fastest. Archie Cole came through to, he got progressively better, didn't he, as the session went on, Archie Cole. Third fastest for him, Jamie Scott. Fourth fastest, a decent debut DRS100 qualifying session for him. Sam Halley-Hinksman, fifth. James Kochelek, sixth fastest. Rowan Marsden, seventh. Cassidy Southall, eighth. Freddie Cox, ninth fastest. Maximilian Reed, 10th fastest. Eldon Hollam, 11th. Ben Hoy, 12th. Ruby Smith, 13th fastest. And then no times for Freddie Fowle or Joe Wood. Now then, what would that time have got? Where would that time have got Daniel Weir? 43.442. It would have put him second. So Charlie Ratford is the fastest of all of the DRS 100 drivers, but not by an awful lot. And Daniel Weir showing that he's certainly got the pace. And those two could meet on the front row, although there'll be a lot of drivers who have something to say about that when the DRS 100s all come together. Well, the top drivers certainly come together later on this afternoon. So heat one for the DRS 100 Group A. Remember, every driver will have a heat, a pre-final and a grand final to go alongside their qualifying sessions, and everything that they do from a competitive perspective from qualifying onwards carries championship points. But remember, as Andy reminded us earlier, every driver throughout this season can drop, effectively cancel, rule out their worst qualifying heat, pre-final and final. So if they do have a mechanical problem or an accident or an incident, then they can effectively wipe that off their scores, and it gives us an average, a calculation that generally, or pretty much always, gives us the right result in terms of the championship. And these young drivers just starting out that process, they'll have collected some championship points already from qualifying, and Charlie Ratford has the most of those championship points. Can he convert that qualifying fastest lap into a heat win here? He's got some competition on his hands from the likes of Sherry-Ann Powell, the likes of Tristan Powell, Henry Foote and Max Salarski will be in and amongst it as well, as they sit on the dummy grid, just awaiting the clock really. We keep to a fairly rigid time structure at these events. So 25 past the hour, just around 60 seconds time, will be the chance for them to start their engines and to head onto circuit, which is exactly what they are doing right now. All of these drivers head out on a formation lap, a warm-up lap, a chance to familiarise themselves with the circuit and the changes that may have occurred from their previous outing. And they'll come under the orders of the start-finish marshal, the starter, who will decide as and when they can begin this race. Once that happens, the lights go green. It's 8 minutes plus one final flying lap that will give us our first heat winner of the new 2022 Daniel Ricciardo Series Championship here at Clay Pigeon. As the rain, it's back falling, isn't it? I think we've got a little bit more rain than we had earlier on, as per the forecast. And you see the drivers now just starting to slow down and look like they're preparing for the start in a nice formation, led by Charlie Ratford, the number 8 on the inside. Sherry-Ann Powell, they come round top bend then, under starters orders. Andy Cox there on the inside, just reminding them it's a long stretch down. They've hit the gas quite early. Do we go green? We do, I think. Or do we? No, we don't. Actually really difficult to see from our vantage position. It's classed as a false start. And they will go around again. They were very quick, actually. They came halfway down. It is a long drag down to the start-finish line. From the exit of Top Bend, it kinks round to the right, and then they head left down towards Billy's Blind. And they were very quick, certainly by the time they got to Andy Cox, who was stood around about 60 or 70 metres from the start-finish line. Once they got there, they were already pretty much flat out. They need to be a little bit slower, a little bit better form. They look pretty good this time. Let's see if we can see the lights from our vantage point. 8 minutes plus a lap of this race. Ratford and Powell on the front row. Lights go green this time. Into the first corner they come for the first time, and it is Ratford who's got the best of the start. Sherry-Ann Powell just pushed a little bit wide through the first couple of corners. But Charlie Ratford it is as they go through the S's for the first time and sprint down towards the Han hairpin. Leader then is indeed Charlie Ratford, who went through into second place. Was it Maximilian Salarski? I think it was, and he holds on to that second place from the 154 of Tristan Powell as they go through Buttons and up to Top Bend for the first time. A nice little advantage as well for Charlie Ratford. First out the blocks and first to extend his advantage. Salarski, who leads the chase, but he has to concentrate on Tristan Powell at the moment in third, who's all over the back of him as they go down into Billy's Blind. Sherry-Ann Powell, not the best of starts for Sherry-Ann. Drops to fourth place as they all kick sideways and then head out towards the back straight and to the Han hairpin into the right-hander. And this time Sherry-Ann Powell a little bit quicker and a little bit, just gets a little bit closer to Tristan Powell. There's a yellow flag and a spinner at the Han hairpin as well. So the race lead advantage is just around about 1 second, 1.2 seconds already for Charlie Ratford as the attack comes from Powell. Has he got away past Salarski? He's got the inside line, has he? No, he hasn't. Into the start of Billy's Blind and a little bit wide from Salarski. There's almost contact between the two of them. That's just allowed for Sherry-Ann Powell to get a little bit closer to these two as Ratford sprints away at the front, and will be happy for these to battle between themselves. Oh, there was contact. There was contact between Salarski and Tristan Powell, as we saw on the replays. They went into Billy's Blind. I'm not sure Salarski knew that Tristan Powell was on his outside as they went into the braking zone. He swung out to take the corner. He's lost that place now. He's under a little bit of pressure as well from Sherry-Ann Powell as they come into Top Bend once more. This is the battle for third and fourth. Ratford it is then who leads. Henry Foote is in fifth, and Archie Potter is sixth. Ethan Critchley seventh, and Oscar Walmsley-Jones then up to fifth on the last lap. He made 3 places. Critchley, Daniela Sutton is seventh. Henry Foote is eighth. Bryn Calder ninth. Aaron Mensah 10th. Archie Potter, we've got another spinner into Billy's Blind. So back to the front then. Charlie Ratford has a 1.8 second advantage over Tristan Powell, but that gap has dropped just around about a 10th of a second last time. There's a short gap around about another half a second back to Maximilian Salarski in third, and then it's Sherry-Ann Powell in fourth. We know that Oscar Walmsley-Jones is fifth, and Ethan Critchley is in sixth place. There's a couple of kart lengths back between them. Sherry-Ann Powell now within a kart length or so. There is the battle for third and fourth. Heading down towards the double apex right, this long right-handed hairpin. Up the short straight, they swing back to the right-hand side of the circuit to get the best line into the horseshoe. And then this little right-handed kink at Buttons, which is where they are now. Has she got the inside line, Powell? Not quite close enough through Top Bend. That's the final corner of the lap. But she is tucked up in behind as they go down towards Billy's Blind. This battle for third and fourth. And here is the braking zone for Billy's. Sherry-Ann Powell heads to the inside, does she? Is she going to find her way through on the way into the S's? Yes, she is. So, new third place driver is Sherry-Ann Powell as they head down towards the hand hairpin. And this was the move then. Slipped down the inside into the right-hander. Then they swung left. It's a fairly safe overtaking opportunity because you have the line into the next corner if you run wide as well. So Solarski goes from third to fourth. No change for fifth, sixth or seventh. We've got Kai Newman up into 12th and Isaac Kite up into 14th at the expense of Tuscany Groves, who's the last of the runners, the 15 drivers in Group A for this DRS 100 group. How long have we got left? 3 minutes or so of the race to go. And now Solarski under pressure for fourth place. Oscar Walmsley-Jones tucked in behind the number 128, and behind them Ethan Critchley's not a long way behind either, and behind Ethan is the 143 of Daniela Sutton in seventh place. Right then, what's the gap between Ratford and Powell? Because it's coming down, isn't it? It's coming down quite significantly as well. Tristan Powell, fastest lap of the race so far, 43.170, is 3/10 quicker than Charlie Ratford. And here's the move for fourth and fifth as well, as Walmsley-Jones heads past Solarski, who's going backwards at the moment. He will try and counter that move down the inside into the hand hairpin and take that fourth place back. Will he? Yes, he will. So Solarski reclaims fourth place. He was only without it for a corner or so. And these two will squabble now over that fourth and fifth. There's Sherry-Ann Powell in third. Here down the inside then, will he make it stick? No, he won't. It's tough to overtake into Top Bend. So Sherry-Ann Powell in third will be happy to take anything that these two front runners leave behind. The leaders then, as you look at the move, a replay of the move for fourth place, the leaders are right together as they go down into the hand hairpin. So what a good job Tristan Powell has done to claw his way back to the front. And here he comes down the inside. It's not on your screen, but I can see that Tristan Powell has dived down the inside to take the lead away from Charlie Ratford. They're on the way into Top Bend, and we have a new race leader with just around about 90 seconds to go here. Tristan Powell leads over start finish. He is our new race leader into Billy's blind for the first time as the race leader. Tristan Powell leads. Charlie Ratford is second. Sherry-Ann Powell is in third, so quite a distant third at the moment from Solarski, who's managed to fend off the advances of Ethan Critchley and Oscar Walmsley-Jones, who are just squabbling over fifth and sixth at the moment. At the front then, into the horseshoe comes Tristan Powell. Started on the inside of the second row, made a good start, and is all of a sudden in the box seat here. What sort of response has Charlie Ratford got in these closing stages? There is your race leader. Powell then crosses the line. He's got 43 seconds to go, so they will be very close next time round to that last lap board. Will they cut the timing beam before the last lap board goes out? It will be very, very close. Ratford in second. Can he respond? He's managed to just about stay with Tristan Powell. There's about 2 or 3 kart lengths between them. Ratford is a little bit narrower in terms of his racing lines as they squeeze the throttle and squirm up towards buttons and then keep the car heading towards the right and into Top Bend. Down the hill they come then. What's the gap? And are they going to cross the beam before? No, they're not. Last lap it is this time round for Tristan Powell. He's got just enough of an advantage, hasn't he? He's just got enough to keep Charlie Ratford at bay. Sherry-Ann Powell, Oscar Walmsley-Jones is back up into fourth place. A nice little battle now between Walmsley-Jones, Solarski, Critchley and Daniela Sutton, who's just on the back of this group, fighting for fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh. Long gap back then to Henry Foote in eighth, and Archie Potter is ninth, and Bryn Calder is 12th. Isaac Kite one more place up into 12th. But here is our race leader, who's going to be our race winner. He comes round the final corner for the final time, and it is going to be Tristan Powell then, who wins the first heat for the DRS 100 Group A Second place for Charlie Radford. Cherian Powell comes home in third. Oscar Walmsley-Jones is fourth, and it will be Maximiliano Solarski who recovers into fifth place. So the rest of them stream through then. Ethan Critchley 6th, Daniel Sutton 7th at the end of that battle for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, and Henry Foote 8th, Archie Potter 9th, Bryn Calder 10th, Aaron Mensah came home in 11th and Jake Ruddo was 12th. Tuscany Groves made a couple of places up to 13th ahead of Kai Newman and Isaac Kite. So that's our first of the heats complete. And Tristan Powell takes maximum points and a fastest lap. He saved his fastest lap for the last lap as well, of 43.089. They are the provisional results for the first of the heats, with Tristan Powell winning in fine style as well, and just a few moments time. So just got around about 6 or 7 minutes before we see the sister group, the Group B for the DRS 100s. Their heat, their first heat, the second heat of the day, is due off at around 1:45, and we'll be back in a few moments time for the start of that heat.
Daniel. Sam. Sam. Good job, Daniela. Huh? Did you finish? 7. Oh, that's good.
Jane, there.
Andy, do you want me to put everyone's
Scooter.
tannoys?
Yeah. Scooter. Yeah.
Put everyone's tannoys?
Yeah.
Attention the text, please call me at 5 that I say scooters, 5 football, or any other game that should be paid venue, please get back on your order. Thank you.
trying to get out of here. Keep getting in his way. 45. Okay guys, so it's 2 laps, warm up, okay, nice and slow. Look where the cone is, the yellow cone's for acceleration line, okay? Everybody clear?
Where you going? Start their engines.
Just go past.
Start your engines!
So the second of our 2 groups of DRS 100 drivers are on circuit for their first heat of the day. A little change to the timetable schedule as well. The DRS 62 and 125 grand finals have been switched round, so now it's the DRS 62 drivers who will head out at 4 o'clock for their grand final, and that means that the DRS 125 drivers, their final will change to 4:20 this afternoon. Reminder, if you're tuning in for a specific final later on, that effectively the DRS 125 and 62 finals have switched round. We'll keep you informed of all the action live here from round 1 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series. Now then, Group B for the DRS 62s. Sorry, DRS 100s. On circuit at the moment, just ready to give themselves the best possible chance of almost competing against a set of drivers you don't actually come across. It's a strange situation, but it happens quite often when there's big numbers of drivers in a single class, which is what we have here with the DRS 100s. And we've got a driver, a car just parked up, the 117 is that of Eldon Holland. So Eldon Holland, that looks pretty terminal as well on the way. Driver is stood up and out of the way. They're going to go around again. This race hasn't started just yet. Yeah, you can see Eldon is leaning against the barriers and will not start this race. So we're 1 down already. As the rest of them, led by Daniel Weir, who was the fastest of the B-class drivers for the DRS 100, who's second fastest of all the DRS 100 drivers. So it's Weir on the inside of the front row. Liam Karbeloff is alongside the 156 of Archie Cole inside of the second row. The 153 of Jamie Scott. So Weir and Karbeloff 1 and 2. Let's see if these can get away. Would be the first time of asking. I think every driver's been given 2 formation laps to sort themselves out. Here we go then. Fairly well sorted and organised, has to be said. It looks pretty good to me. Will it go? Yes, it does go. And it's the outside of Karbeloff, is it, that gets round the first corner first? I think he has got round the outside of Daniel Weir as they went into Billy's Blind for the first time. Looks very slippery on the way into the S's, but they all have got through and streamed down towards the Han hairpin. Right-hander, double apex, up a little crest and onto the right-hand side for the horseshoe. Another long right-hand and left-handed turn this time, and lots of back-end sliding from Liam Karbeloff, but he's managing to hold it all together. We have 1 spinner on the way through the hairpin. That was the 160 of Freddie Farrell, who's rejoined now at the back of the field as they stream through to complete the first lap. Into the right-hander of Billy's. It continues right and right again until they enter the S's, which is where they are now. They flick left and then down the hill, and that was what happened to Freddie Farrell on lap number 1. Here are the leaders then. Karbalov, Weir, Archie Cole, Sam Halley-Hinksman. Jamie Scott lost a place on that first lap down to 5th. James Kochelek is 6th. Ron Marsden is the first of the rookie drivers in 7th. And then Freddie Cox is up a couple of places into 8th. Cassidy Southall behind in 9th. And then Ben Hoy and Ruby Smith and Joe Wood and Maximilian Reed and Freddie Farrell is the last of the 14 runners we have here. Just the one retirement, remember. From the formation lap, that was Eldon Holland, the 117. So here are the leaders then, just a kart length or so. Here's Karbalov. And then behind him is the number 9 of Daniel Weir. It is the number 9 of Daniel Weir, not the number 8 of Charlie Ratford as it says on screen at the moment. It certainly is Daniel Weir who's chasing down Liam Karbalov at the front of this field. A little gap back then to the chasing pack for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, led by Archie Cole. Sam Halley-Hinksman is 4th. Jamie Scott just about in touching distance in 5th. Looks tiny, doesn't he, Jamie Scott, in that DRS100 car. Certainly sandwiched between Hinksman and Kochelek. And we've got a spinner, another spinner in the left-hander. Who is that as they come back round? Let's just have a look at the rejoining now. So it's somebody from further up the field. It was the 130 of Karbalov. Karbalov then was a spinner on the way through the right-hander. And Daniel Weir has now taken the lead. See if we can get a little look at that again of what happened to Liam Karbalov, the race leader. He's not the race leader anymore. It's Daniel Weir then who leads. Here's the replay. Oh, he's just got it all kinds of sideways, hasn't he? Unforced error from Liam Karbalov. Nobody to really blame but himself, unfortunately. And now it just took him an awful long time to recover as well. Almost like he couldn't get restarted, couldn't get rejoined and re-going. Where has he rejoined? All the way back in 11th place. So yeah, a little bit of pressure from Daniel Weir. Forced the error of Liam Karbalov. And now it's Daniel Weir, the number 9, who has clear track in front of him and he's got a chasing pack led by Archie Cole. Cole's got a nice little advantage now over Halley-Hinksman, Scott, Kochelek, Marsden and Cox. Battle all the way down to 7th. Freddie Cox is chasing Rowan Marsden. So here is the leaders then. They all head up towards the left-hander of the horseshoe. And then through this little right kink at Buttons, which is where Halley-Hinksman is at the moment. And into Top Bend, the final corner. Every corner here seems to take an age to finish. They're all long, sweeping corners, probably with the exception of the S's, which is fairly fast, right, left, right. Everything else is long, sweeping, technical corners here at Clay Pigeon. So the battle is this one for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Halley-Hinksman, Scott, Kochelek and Marsden. The gap back to Freddie Cox from the back of this group is maybe 10 or 12 kart lengths at the moment, so lots of work for the DRS play of Freddie Cox. Still looks to be having all kinds of understeer, oversteer problems with that DRS kart at the moment. Into the right-hander then of Billy's Blind comes the leader, Daniel Weir. Archie Cole is still in 2nd place. What's the gap between those two then? So it's gone up 0.153, so just over 1/10 of a second. It's 2 seconds at the moment. So at the moment, Daniel Weir has got the measure of Archie Cole in terms of maintaining this gap. The gap between Cole and Halley-Hinksman again, but staying pretty static at around 1.6 seconds. So no real threat from 1st to 2nd or 2nd to 3rd. But what we do know is that the conditions are tricky out there. It is very slippery and errors can be made at any time. So these drivers need to concentrate to maintain those concentration levels Here is that battle between Hallie Hinksman third, Scott fourth as they go through the S's. A nice tidy line from Jamie Scott. Give him a good run out of the chicane, and here he goes down the inside. Does he make it stick? No, Hallie Hinksman just shuts the door. Says, nope, not quite this time, young man. To Jamie Scott, a graduate from DRS 62 class last year. Just has to look over his shoulder as well, Jamie Scott. He'll see James Kochalek is there behind him in 5th place, and he tries to attack again on Hallie Hinksman. 3 of them then down the start finish straight. 3rd, 4th, 5th. Will Scott have a look into Billy's blind? It's very slippery down into Billy's blind today. It is a little bit off camber downhill. I don't think we'll see many overtaking manoeuvres into there, especially when there's not much grip around. But now then, Scott, he gets another good run out the S's. Hinksman goes to the inside, tries to defend. There's a minute left of this race, and Scott goes to the outside to try and slingshot past, and they're all going to get caught, are they, by Kochalek, who's trying to move up, and here comes Scott down the inside. He does take 3rd place away. Can Hallie Hinksman hold on to 4th? He does just about got Kochalek in behind him as well. So we've got a mechanical flag for Maximilian Reed, the 136. So Reed all the way down in 10th place at the moment with a mechanical problem, the 136. Trying to see as he comes past us there. Why is that? Certainly nothing instantly visible. I've got an issue with one of the nose cones or number on that car. Got a yellow flag as well on the way through. And what has happened to Hallie Hinksman? So Hallie Hinksman has dropped to the back of the field there. So when we were looking at mechanical, Sam Hallie Hinksman's been involved in some sort of incident, I think, at the right-hander of the Han hairpin. And he's now dropped to the back of the field. So it's all change for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. So Scott is now 3rd. Rome Marsden is 4th. So Freddie Cox, the benefactor as well. He's up into 5th place. Kochalek drops down, contact warning for Kochalek. So is that the move that dumped Sam Hallie Hinksman down now into 9th? Freddie Farrell up into 11th place as well on that last lap, and Cassidy Southall and Liam Karloff all made places at the expense of Sam Hallie Hinksman, who drops down to 9th. Right then, last lap becomes checkered flag for Daniel Weir. Archie Cole is going to be fairly home and hose safe into 2nd. Jamie Scott 3rd, Ron Marsden 4th, and Freddie Cox will be very pleased with his first heat's work up into 5th after a pretty terrible qualifying for him. Kochalek then into 6th. Cassidy Southall comes home in 7th. Liam Karloff and Sam Hallie Hinksman, might be a bit of bonus to pick out of that for 8th and 9th. Ben Hoy finishes in 10th. Freddie Farrell comes home 11th with Joe Wood, Ruby Smith and Maximilian Reed finishing off the 14 drivers in Group B of the DRS 100s. That's both the DRS 100 first heats complete. Those drivers will also compete in a pre-final with just their group before they are all put together for the main final later on this afternoon. Remember that DRS 100 grand final is scheduled for 20 to 5. It's our last race of the day. And for those of you just tuning in now, the DRS 62 and DRS 125 grand finals have effectively switched round. 4 o'clock is now the DRS 62 grand final and 20 past 4 the DRS 125 final. And welcome back to the dummy grid here at Clay Pigeon. We're about to get underway with our finals, starting with the pre-final for the DRS 100 Group A. We're going to nip down to the dummy grid and see who we can find. The weather, by the way, is still, well, it's pretty wet. It's coming down a little bit heavier than it was earlier on. We're going to head to the front row. We're going to try and grab a quick chat with Tristan Powell. We'll try and coordinate our umbrellas between us to cover all the rain. Tristan, what a good start in terms of finding a little bit more pace than you had in the qualifying session earlier on. What do you put that down to?
We knew we had extra pace in us. Just trying to get past on the start, keeping it clean, and just pushed towards Charlie. Managed to get past and just kept it on the road.
Because you had to do a bit of chasing, didn't you? The gap was quite big to start with, and you sort of reeled him in slowly but surely. Were you always confident that you could get there?
I was just thinking at the start that he got away, and then I started to close the gap a little bit, started to pick up the pace, and then caught him.
Great stuff. So Tristan Powell, who starts on the inside of the front row, courtesy of that Heat 1 win. We're going to nip on the other side of the front row and see Charlie Ratford, if I can nip under his umbrella. Charlie, a little bit of pace to find based on the first heat. How are you going to go about doing that?
Last race we did have a bit of an issue with the understeer, so hopefully that will be solved. Find us a few more attempts, and then hopefully we can overtake Tristan, which won't be easy. He's quick, but hopefully we can.
I spoke about the start here because I'm not sure it's always that much of an advantage to be on the inside of the front row because of that little kink as you go into billies. Is that something that you're looking at? If you can get alongside, get a decent run, you could actually be in front by the time you get to the right-hander.
Yeah, hopefully, and try and hold it around the outside of the second corner, and then hopefully have the inside for the chicane.
Great stuff. And in terms of the championship, obviously new year, got some pace as well. How optimistic are you for a really good showing?
Yeah, hoping for a podium this season, and then, well, I would like to win, but I know that won't be easy, but a podium, I'll be very happy with that.
Yeah, and absolutely in the right position to do it. Well done, and all the best for the pre-final. So we're about to get underway with our first of the pre-finals, the DRS100 Group A. We'll be back here in a few moments' time to speak to their opposite numbers in Group B. But for now, welcome back and enjoy the first pre-final of the day with the DRS100s. So that pre-final then is on the grid and ready to go. It's a short hop for me from the dummy grid back into our commentary position here, right over the start-finish line as we look down towards a rain-soaked, sodden Clay Pigeon Raceway. Rain is certainly heavier than it has been for most of the day, to be honest. We've just had a little downpour. It's now fairly constant and heavy. And the drivers, this is what I was saying earlier on, the drivers will have a different challenge now to the one that they had earlier on. The wet conditions, very changeable. Sometimes when it rains a little bit more, you actually get a little bit more grip because the wet tyres can actually do their job and cut the surface water from underneath them. So we sport to the front two in this Group A DRS100 pre-final. They'll be led out by Tristan Powell. Very happy with his pace. Knew that he had more pace from the qualifying session as well. And its role was reversed, really. It was Charlie Ratford who had all that pace in qualifying. And they think they had a little problem. So let's see if they fixed that problem. Let's see if they can get themselves up and around the pace that Tristan Powell showed in the first of the heats. Don't rule out any of the drivers from the row behind as well. All very capable, all have shown pace at different times. What you do tend to see with the wet conditions is we don't tend to see as much bumper-to-bumper close racing. The variables are that much more extreme. The mistakes are that much easier to make. But certainly drivers from the back of the grid, very, very capable of coming through in these wet conditions. Your seeded drivers like to Brink Calder, who you can see at the far end of your shot there, will be looking to pick up as many places as he possibly can. Shanrian Powell, the inside of row 2. Nice to see that they got a colour coordinated umbrella to go with a helmet. And on the other side of the second row is the 128 of Oscar Walmsley-Jones. So those front 4 have all shown, certainly over a long, long time now, a capability of being right at the front of this pre-final. Let's see how they sort themselves out. There's a good shot of the new nose cone that we've been talking about. The new F-duct, Andy Cox called it. It's worth speaking to some drivers about the impact of that, which we will do later on. Certainly the drivers that were in amongst the series last season and can have a direct comparison in terms of new bodywork. So Tristan Powell there, just awaiting the start. The scheduled off time is indeed 20 past the hour, so we're just a minute or two away from that. Always intrigues me that some drivers just have different mannerisms, different ways that they want to approach the start of races. Some will sit in, focus, concentrate, put themselves in a little bubble. Some will take the time. We've seen Tristan Powell out of the car until probably the last minute. Other drivers stood up. Some, as I say, just taking their time to acclimatise to the surroundings, just focusing on the job in hand. And there is our poleman with clear road in front of him. He'll dictate the pace of the rolling lap as the umbrellas disappear, which is a sure sight that we're about to get underway here. So our poleman is now on board. That'll be really interesting here. We've spoken a lot about how much an advantage is the supposed inside of the front row heading into Billy's. I wonder what percentage of drivers into this first corner here actually come from the outside row because of the left kink at Billy's blind and actually end up in the lead before they actually get to the first official corner, which is the right-hander, as they sweep right through Billy's and then on to the S's. If you are brave and you can get a little jump and a little drop at the start, there is reward to be had from being on the outside of the front row. Here they come then. And you can instantly see just through looking at that great shot of the spray that's now coming up off the tyres that we didn't have before. So we didn't have as much spray before as we now have. And that's because of that extra rain that's fallen in the last hour or so. It's fair to say, fair to assume that we aren't going to get any dry running today. So the pre-final, which takes place over 8 minutes, plus that one final flying lap, the same as the heats. But wherever you finish the pre-final, you will effectively start the grand final. So for these guys, it's not just about doing well in this race. This is a qualification race, effectively, to get them into the A final. There is a B final, a second chance final for all the back runners in the DRS100 class. And then it will be when we say grand final, we mean grand final for the DRS100s, because it will bring both groups together, the best drivers, the quickest drivers on circuit all at the same time. We'll see that this afternoon at 4:40. The last race of the day should be an absolute cracker. But for now, we've got a pre-final to deal with for Group A led by Tristan Powell. On the outside of him is Charlie Radford, Sherry-Ann Powell and Oscar Walmsley-Jones on row 2. Who will get into the first corner first? They're really well formed, really nicely formed as they come down. Who will blink first and hit the accelerator? A little bit of gamesmanship between these two. They're very slow, very, very slow as they come up to the line. We've not seen a start like that for ages. Right then, it is Powell who gets in the first corner first. It's almost like slow motion, wasn't it? It didn't want to blink into that first corner. Now then, who's lost out here? So it is Powell who's going to the first corner first. Then it's just behind Charlie Radford. And then, as they sort themselves out, I think it's Maximilian Salarski, Oscar Walmsley-Jones and Sherry-Ann Powell, who seems to have dropped down to 5th. He's under pressure for that 5th place as well. Salarski is squabbling with Oscar Walmsley-Jones for 3rd and 4th. But the best of the starts was from Tristan Powell. Now then, let's see where this pace is that we expect to see from Charlie Radford. And look at Salarski as well, because Salarski has got the bit between his teeth. He's looking right down the barrel at Charlie Radford. Salarski made 2 places on the first lap. Sherry-Ann Powell lost 2 places. We've got a yellow flag as well. There's a little bit of contact between Radford and Salarski, and that's allowed Walmsley-Jones to come alongside Salarski around the outside. Can he make something stick? He can't, but he might just nip that back down on the inside, and he has done. Can he hold on into the horseshoe? No. Salarski then to the outside. We've got another spinner into the left-hander. Have they all got through? No, and I think, just trying to see, one of them must be, just looking a bit further back, sideways from Salarski, just seeing one of them, I think, was the 148 Tuscany Groves at the back of the field. So Tristan Powell, Charlie Radford, let's just take a moment to get the order right as Salarski dives to the inside, chunks over the curb, but has taken 2nd place away from Charlie Radford. So Salarski then finally makes it stick down the inside as he tries to come back at him. Radford, they're going to come side by side up to the horseshoe. This time, sweeps over goes Maximilian Salarski, and he has made it stick on Charlie Radford. So new 2nd place driver, has he got the pace to get onto Tristan Powell? So as all that's been going on, it has allowed for Tristan Powell just to extend his advantage at the moment. So Salarski to Powell, gap is 1.3 seconds. It came down 7/10 last time. As now down the inside, Oscar Walmsley-Jones down the inside of Radford. So Radford, who they thought they had some more power and more pace in the Radford camp, certainly doesn't look that way at the moment. And if he's not careful, he could fall into the clutches of Sherry-Ann Powell as well. In 5th place at the moment is Sherry-Ann, with a huge gap back then to Henry Foote and Daniela Sutton. Over the line they come once more. Got a warning for the 152 of Ethan Critchley. Now Critchley all the way down in 12th at the moment. So Tristan Powell, Max Salarski, Oscar Walmsley-Jones, front 3. Dylan Briley, one of last year's stars of the DRS100, showing his support on YouTube for our race leader, Tristan Powell, who is coming under increasing pressure from Maximilian Salarski. Took half a second out of him on the previous lap. Half a second taken between the front 2. The gap's now down to 0.4 of a second. He took another 0.3 on that last lap, and in just a couple of corners, he's going to be absolutely right there with the race leader. Down towards the Han hairpin, named after a great of British karting, Neil Han. Into the left. Salarski has a little look. He's going to get the door shut on him. He certainly wasn't far enough down the inside to make it stick that time. And rightfully so. Tristan Powell says no, if you're going to have a look. But he is going to have a look down the inside, which makes one of the very rare moves we see into the right-hander at top bend. And we have a new race leader then in the shape of Maximilian Salarski. Won at Houghton Park last year. at the start of the season. Can he win at the start of the season here? He leads this pre-final, and they've certainly found some pace, haven't they? Certainly found some pace for Maximilian Salarski. Tristan Powell then, can he hold on? Third place for Oscar Walmsley-Jones. Charlie Radford is now under pressure from Sherry-Ann Powell, the number 6. So we've got 8th in last year's championship against 6th in last year's championship. The leader was 3rd in last year's championship, and he's on his merry way down and over start finish once more. 3 minutes to go here. Through the S's comes our leader. Here is the battle for 4th and 5th with Radford and Powell. They both head to the outside, take the best possible line into the hand hairpin. They come up and swing back to the right to get the best line. Here she comes. Sherry-Ann's down the inside, and Sherry-Ann Powell has taken away 4th place from Charlie Radford, who just tries to attack on the way into the Buttons corner. Can't make it stick, and that was a good indicator, wasn't it? Charlie Radford came out of Buttons and had a look over his right shoulder as if to say, who's next? Who's the next one that's coming after me? Because he has been a little bit of a sitting duck in this pre-final. Hasn't managed to show the pace that he had in qualifying or earlier on in today after being 2nd in one of the heats. Sherry-Ann Powell now displaces him from 4th. Her next target is Oscar Walmsley-Jones. So now then we're going to get a really good indication of pace. We're going to know exactly what these front 4 have got. They've all got clear air. The next couple of laps will be really interesting just to see if they did get track position amongst each other, who would have the advantage, if anybody. And if they're all around a similar time, we really want them to have track position, and we could have a really exciting grand final later on. Remember, that grand final, you're also going to add in a whole host of other drivers from the B group who are on next. We've got a yellow flag on the way into the hand hairpin, which is where our leaders are, but the yellow flag looks to be for the 148 of Tuscany Grove. So Tuscany Grove's down in 13th at the moment. Top rookie is Archie Potter in 12th. Ethan Critchley just ahead of him. Henry Foote is in 8th place, been called as 7th. We said he might try to come through the field. Aaron Mentor is 9th. Kai Newman in 10th. Daniela Sutton as well, doing a good job in 6th place at the moment. Let's do some blue flags. There are blue flags out for Tuscany Groves because Salarski, got really held up, did Max Salarski as he came out of the chicane. He managed to get past in the end, but he hit Tuscany Groves right on the exit of the corner and then had to wait a little bit. He got a little bit impatient himself to try and find a way through, but he got there in the end, and his lead is pretty much still intact. Let's get the lap times next time round. We're just closing to the closing stages of this race. It will be a last lap board. Will he get this? Be really tight. 3, 4, 2, 1. I think he just got through before the last lap. Literally, if he'd have let off a little bit, this would have been his last lap. It's not. He's got 2 to go. Right, lap times then. Last time round, Salarski 43.8, but that included the little hold up with Tuscany Groves as a back marker. 43.7 for Tristan Powell. 43.4 for Oscar Walmsley-Jones. Now, Walmsley-Jones has come on really strongly in the closing stage of this race from a pace perspective. Sherry-Ann Powell, 43.7. Charlie Radford, 43.9. Nobody else is in the 43s. Daniela Sutton, 44.4. Bryn Calder, 44.2. So we have 4-5 drivers in the 43s. One driver, really. 42.8 for Max Salarski last time round. So Maximilian Salarski just showing everybody what he's capable of. And again, let's just see how that compares to the B group later on. A 42.8, Salarski's fastest lap. We've got a spinner. Oh, right in front of the leader as well. The 131 of Isaac Kite just rejoined right as Salarski was coming around the corner, and Salarski will have just held his breath for a moment or two then just to make sure he got through cleanly. He did in the end. He's going to come through and win the race. It's a super drive from Maximilian Salarski to win the pre-final. Tristan Powell comes home in second. Another good drive as well from him. Oscar Walmsley-Jones in third. A personal best on the last lap as well, 43.4. Sherry-Ann Powell, 43.6. A personal best on her last lap in fourth. Charlie Radford came home in fifth with Daniela Sutton, Brink Holder, Aaron Mensah, Henry Foote and Kai Newman. They were the top 10. Kai Newman actually just got ahead of Henry Foote on that last lap. Archie Potter, Ethan Critchley, Jake Woodrow, Isaac Kite and Tuscany Groves rounded out our top 15 for Group A of the DRS 100s. So Salarski then taking maximum points from the pre-final and a front row place, you would imagine, for the grand final later on this afternoon. His work is done until 20 to 4, but plenty more action to come, including Group B for the DRS 100s. They're due off in around about 8 minutes time, so we'll head down to the dummy grid and see if we can grab hold of a couple of drivers who may be in contention for this pre-final, the next race of the day, the pre-final for the DRS 100s. So Group B for the DRS 100s are on the grid at the moment. We've got lots of potential winners of this race, even from the rows a little bit further back. I'm going to head a bit further back. I'm going to go around the outside. I'm going to speak to Jamie Scott first if I possibly can. So Jamie, step up in category. What's the biggest difference you've seen?
They've got a lot more power than the cadets, so hopefully I can do well in this race, but yeah.
And generally we see close racing on all of our DRS categories, but DRS 100 always gives us action-packed races. Do you think it stood you in good stead being a DRS 62 driver and then stepping up into this class knowing how close it's going to be?
It's a lot faster, so then it's like closer as the battles are faster.
And a great start as well on the inside of the second row. What can you do from here?
Hopefully I can just like follow Daniel through and just like go to the end pretty much.
Great stuff. All the best for this race. We'll just go back one more and see if we can grab Freddie Cox on the inside of the third row. Freddie, it's better, isn't it? There certainly wasn't the start you'd have wanted in qualifying this morning, but I suppose to be here is a better result.
Yeah, we struggled a lot with the setup this morning, but we think we might have got it now, so we'll have to see how it works.
And it is different now, isn't it, from this morning? It was more damp and greasy, and although it was persistent, it wasn't really heavy rain. It is a bit heavier now. There is a bit more surface water. How much different are you expecting it to be?
Yeah, I think the track's constantly changing, but as I said, we'll see with the setup because it's quite different what we've chose. So.
And the target from here, a couple more places would keep you happy?
The aim's to win it, but yeah, we'll see.
Good man. All the best for the pre-final. As we said, these DRS 100 drivers split into two groups this weekend. This is the B group about to start their pre-final, and then the drivers who don't make it into the A final will have another chance through a B final, a repechage, if you like, a second chance final due later on this afternoon, and then we'll get the best of both groups for that grand final at 4:45 this afternoon. We'll be back in a few moments with the pre-final for the DRS 100 B group. 153 is one of the drivers that we've just spoken to, one of the drivers that we expected to be right up there. He's not actually made it just yet out onto the racetrack. So Jamie Scott has got a problem. They can't get it started. They're now going with a manual starter. And they got it started. He nearly ran the dummy grid marshal up. He wasn't positioned in quite the smartest of places right in front of him as they were spinning the wheels. Have they got it sorted? Could he not have gone now and raced up behind them? I don't think he needs to wait until they're all... Well, he is going to wait, but he'd surely have been better when it first started, getting out and getting half a lap under his belt. They will go around again and he will rejoin the group. Some last minute instructions from the officials. So now he's got a job to go and get his place back. He's got to go and dive in amongst. He's got to do a little bit of overtaking. So then, a couple of drivers as well that in this group that are a little bit further back, but we know are quick enough. So Liam Karbloff starting on the inside of row 4, and Sam Halley-Hinksman as well. Don't rule him out, the number 140. Dylan Briley on YouTube. He's backing Sam Halley-Hinksman. Probably quite a big ask for him where he is on the grid, but we know he's got the pace. Somebody like Dylan Briley would certainly know what he's talking about. He's been here, been in amongst this group, knows people's strengths and weaknesses. We are going to go again. I think Jamie Scott has just about got himself back into where he should be on the second row. So they've done 3 formation laps now. They've been around a whole host of times. Daniel Weir will lead us off, by the way. We've done all this talking about it. We're not actually mentioned the pole man yet. So Daniel Weir, courtesy of that first heat win, and he was fastest in the DRS100 B group qualifying as well. Archie Cole alongside, and then you've got Jamie Scott, Ron Marsden, Freddie Cox, James Kochelek, Cassidy Southall. What a good start from Cassidy Southall. Up into 7th, starting 7th, then Karbloff, then Halley-Hinksman. Lots of drivers who could be very close here, coming from mid-pack as well. Here they come to the lights. Weir and Cole, who'll get the best of the starts? It looks like Cole. He had a little hesitation, didn't he? But he has got there. Ooh, is that going to go? Is that going to go? It was very tight. It was strange. It was almost like Archie Cole realised that he was maybe just slightly ahead of Daniel Weir, and then he hesitated, and then he planted the throttle again, and he was already in front. So fair play to him. He got the jump as they went over the start-finish line. And he has made the best of the start. So Cole it is who leads. Daniel Weir is second, and here comes Jamie Scott down the inside. So Weir is not having the start that he would have wanted, not having it all his own way. All of a sudden he's dropped back into 3rd place as they come round to complete the first lap of this DRS100B pre-final. And it is indeed Archie Cole, Jamie Scott, Daniel Weir. Freddie Cox is up 1 place into 4th. And he's... Oh, look at the little attack there from Weir on Scott. Didn't make it stick this time. Just behind them is Freddie Cox. Now, Freddie Cox spoke to us on the grid about having a setup change. Think they found a little bit more. Certainly looks that way, doesn't it? He's just cruising on the back now of Daniel Weir. And it just goes to show you how a little improvement can make a massive difference in terms of setup, in terms of understanding how these drivers give feedback to mechanics, parents, helpers. Just try and get the absolute best out of these karts. Weir again just tucked in behind Jamie Scott in second. Now while this is all going on, it is playing into the hands of the race leader. So Archie Cole, who's still at the front of this field, he's got an advantage of just around about a second over these front 2. Jamie Scott is really wide on the exit of the right-hander at the Han hairpin. His exit is much wider than Daniel Weir, but it's working for him at the moment. Weir is still in third. Fourth is Freddie Cox. Down the hill they come. Fifth place then for Rome Marsden. Liam Karbeloff is in sixth. He's at the back of this train of drivers. And there's the 150 of James Kochelet. Then Cassidy Southall is eighth. Sam Halley-Hinksman is ninth. Maximilian Reed is 10th. Ben Hoy, Joe Wood, Freddie Farrell, Ruby Smith, and then Eldon Holland. Fastest lap of the race so far belongs to the race leader. And that's that wide line I was telling you about before from Jamie Scott. But it's just doing enough to keep Daniel Weir at bay. They're lapping about a tenth of a second slower than the race leader. Jamie Scott really needs to get out front, doesn't he? He needs to get less worried about Weir behind him and start to put in some consistent laps to try and just close this gap on the race leader. Let's just have a look at the sector times. Scott went a tenth of a second quicker on the last lap than the race leader. And look at Cox as well, just tucking right up on the back of Weir as they went into the hairpin. And then they come up towards the horseshoe. Freddie Cox fourth place, Daniel Weir is third, second is Jamie Scott, and they're all chasing Archie Cole. He went a tenth of a second quicker in sector one, did Scott. Sector two was pretty similar for the front two. Let's see as they cross start finish now. They've completed 5 laps. More importantly, they've got 4 minutes still to go. He was 2 tenths quicker, Jamie Scott. He had an excellent last sector around the horseshoe and the top bend. He took a quarter of a second out of the race leader that time. Just keep an eye on this gap, because not only is Jamie Scott just starting to reel in Archie Cole, just look at the drivers behind Freddie Cox, the likes of Rome Marsden, Liam Karbeloff, James Kochelet. They're all within a touching distance of each other, and any sort of squabbling between these front 3 or 4, the rest of them would close right up, wouldn't they, into contention. 162 of Cassidy Southall. Under a little bit of pressure from Sam Halley-Hinksman. About a tenth of a second between those two. But again, they're not a million miles away from a couple of the drivers in front either. So, the gap between the leaders. Have we had a response from Archie Cole? Well, sort of. He didn't go much quicker, but Jamie Scott did go a little bit slower. So I wonder if he just lost a little bit of momentum on that last lap. Round the right-hander and down the hill once more comes the race leader. Down this long straight towards start-finish. And into Billy's blind, this long right-hander that you can see now. This is the S's, where they are now. That's the gap between first and second. Third is Weir. Fourth is Cox. Now, even though they've been closer on a couple of laps, there's been no move. There was certainly no move on Weir by Weir onto Scott, or nothing onto Weir by Cox. So, close, but not quite close enough to make a difference. And Archie Cole is just doing enough at the front of this field. James Kochelet's got past Liam Karbeloff and up into 6th, and there's Freddie Farrell who's dropped to the back of the field, so it's a place improvement for Ben Hoy, Joe Wood, Eldon Holland, who's made 2 places, and Ruby Smith. And now Kochelet goes past Rome Marsden, so just keep an eye on James Kochelet, because he's the quickest man on the circuit at the moment, 43.557. His next target is Freddie Cox, and he's still got the best part of 2 minutes here, so probably got 4 laps to go. So Cox might want to get aggressive here, might want to start having a go at Daniel Weir, or he could have come under some pressure from James Kochelet in 5th place. The front 4 stretched out last lap, a couple of attempts taken again by Jamie Scott. The gap's 8 tenths of a second. I wonder if Jamie Scott's just thinking, right, I can really have a push now, I can really try and turn the screw. I've probably got 3 laps to go. And he is now there or thereabouts, isn't he? He was great through sector 1, was Jamie Scott. I wonder if there's a little mistake from Archie Cole, and that's just lit up the eyes of Jamie Scott, and all of a sudden Scott can smell some blood here. A bit wide, a little bit untidy from Archie Cole. Needs to keep it nice and neat just to stop this little advance from Jamie Scott. Where were they in Sector 1? Pretty similar. Sector 2, attempts quicker from Archie Cole, so it is a good response. I think he made a mistake last time round, and that led to that gap coming down, but he's responded well as Archie Cole. So Weir now, and look at Kochelek, because he's got past Cox, and now he's all over the back of Daniel Weir for third place. Tries to go to the outside, now he goes to the inside. Oh, there's a little bit of contact between the two of them. Hand off the wheel from Daniel Weir. I'd worry about getting around the corner first before you take your hands off the wheel. And now he comes under more pressure into top bend. The three of these in the battle for third, fourth and fifth. Down the hill they come. It'll be a drag race between at least two of them. To the outside comes Kochelek. Weir to the inside. He just held off the advance. There was a little bit of contact as they went into the left-hander. But two drivers off the road as well through the right-hander of the hairpin. Here is this battle for third, fourth and fifth. Weir, Kochelek and Cox. Weir to the inside. He'll just switch back to the inside, Kochelek, on the way out of this corner. He has done. Has he got enough of a run up the hill? Now Weir is to the inside, side by side, holds on to the place. Kochelek to the inside again. He will make it stick this time. Will Weir lose another place? No, he holds on. Here comes Cox down the inside of Kochelek. Doesn't manage to make it stick. Third, fourth and fifth. No change at the front either. It's going to be no change for the win. It's the last lap for the rest of them. Over the line goes Archie Cole. Is going to be a change further back? No. Jamie Scott second, Daniel Weir third, held off the advances of James Kochelek. Freddie Cox in fifth, Ron Marsden sixth, and the top rookie driver, Liam Karbloff in seventh. Sam Halley-Hinksman did get past Cassidy Southall for eighth place. Maximilian Reed was 10th, and Ellen Holland, a good drive in the end to recover up into 11th. So our one and only B final of the day, the opportunity for the drivers who didn't make it into the main A final for the DRS 100s to have their final and collect some championship points along the way. Race will be over 10 minutes plus that one final lap. Just getting themselves ready, getting themselves prepared. Still raining out there. It's been a constant day of drizzle, constant day of a wet track the drivers have had to manage. They've managed it very well, it has to be said. Lots of different challenges every time they've entered this Clay Pigeon circuit. So no Group A or Group B anymore for the DRS 100s. These are the drivers from either group that didn't have enough points over the qualifying heat and pre-final to make it into the main final.
Start your engine.
So just the 6 drivers. And they'll be led by the 149 of Jake Woodrow. 160 of Freddie Farrell alongside him. Also got the 148 of Tuscany Groves in there. So they're all rookie drivers with the exception of Tuscany. But the 6 karts rather, will all battle for points, for pride, to be able to come out of this race weekend with a little bit of momentum, even though they won't be in the main grand final. And remember that DRS 100 grand final is scheduled for 20 to 5 this afternoon. Around an hour from now, we'll see the best of the DRS 100 drivers from both groups go head to head for the first time today. But here then is the B final. And over start finish they go. Will they go first time? No, I wouldn't have thought so. Or have they? Well, they are go. Yeah, it didn't look like they were going to go. There's certainly a good advantage from Freddie Farrell on the outside of the front row. He certainly managed to get the drop. It almost slow motion as they went into the first corner. But it is Farrell then who not only gets the best of the starts, but by some distance as well. He's already amassed a lead of some 8, 9, 10 kart lengths as he heads up towards the right-hander at top bend and heads down the hill for the first time. Remember, 10 minutes plus a lap for these junior 100 drivers, 11 to 16 years old. These are the drivers that didn't quite make it into the main final. So Freddie Farrell, Jake Woodrow, Isaac Kite, Joe Wood, Ruby Smith and Tuscany Jones. Tuscany Groves is in 6th place. Oh, we've got a problem for the 131 of Isaac Kite. He's pressing the accelerator, but the accelerator isn't working at the moment. Has he got it back going again? Yeah, he has. I wonder if he just had some sort of mechanical problem by the looks of it. You can see him frantically pressing the accelerator pedal, and there wasn't much happening, but it does seem to be circulating in the way it should do now. Here is the leader then. Leader has got a huge advantage as well now, so 44.5 for Freddie Farrell, 4-second advantage after just 2 laps with Jake Woodrow, Joe Wood, Ruby Smith and Tuscany Groves the top 5. Isaac Kite he has got a real problem, hasn't he, Isaac Kite? He's just down on the way into the S's at the moment, going very, very slowly. Now seems to have got it going again. Every time he goes through Billy's blind, it almost comes to a stop. So there is clearly something technical, mechanical, that's the problem. with that DRS100 card. And the rest of them all streaming through, and there you go. There is the problem. Hand is in the air. He's going to pull off into the pits, and that looks like race done for Isaac Kite. Back to the front of the field. The leader's got now a 5.9 second advantage. Freddie Farrell. He's lapping some at 1 point, nearly 2 seconds a lap quicker than everybody else out there. So what a shame that, you know, due to a couple of mishaps in the earlier races, Freddie Farrell is not in that main final. Would have been really interesting at that sort of pace as well. But it would have been really interesting just to see how he would have fared. Jake Woodrow in second, Joe Wood in third, Tuscany Groves in fourth, and then Tuscany now ahead of Ruby Smith. And there is the second place. So the battle really between third and fourth at the moment, Joe Wood and Tuscany Groves. They both head out of the left-hander of the horseshoe. And there is that battle, and here comes Tuscany Groves. Just look down the inside for a moment. Didn't manage to make anything stick, but we'll have the run down the hill, you would imagine. Here they come then, and into Billy's blind for the 6th time. They completed 5 laps of the show on the spin. There's a spin for the 159 of Joe Wood under pressure from Tuscany Groves, and Joe Wood has rejoined, but towards the back of the field, so out of third place. That means that Tuscany Groves heads up towards the bottom step on the podium, and will now set about trying to catch Jake Woodrow. Let's just see what the comparable lap times between the two of them are. It was a 46.3 for Tuscany Groves last time, a 46.1 for Jake Woodrow, and that's now 46.3. So the fastest lap of a personal best rather for Tuscany Groves, 45.6. So lapping about 0.8 of a second, or 3/4 of a second quicker than Jake Woodrow this time. Let's just have a look at that gap between second and third as they go through the horseshoe, through the right-hander at Buttons, then head over to the left-hand side to get the best line into the top bend. It's the pit lane entrance as well. And there, the 151 of Ruby Smith. So Ruby Smith is up into fourth. She's benefited at the expense of Joe Wood and that spin. And here's a problem for someone. So a problem for the 159 of Joe Wood, who's had a little spin and just come back on again. Here's the battle for second then, and Tuscany Groves is now onto the back bumper of Jake Woodrow. New fastest lap of the race from the race leader Freddie Farrell, who's got a 14-second advantage here at the front of this B final. Jake Woodrow second, Tuscany Groves is third, but right there, just tucked in behind Jake Woodrow. I'm sure Tuscany Groves would very much enjoy a second place finish here today. Can they find a way through? Can they dive to the inside through the right hander of the Han hairpin? Not this time, but might do on the exit, and has done on the exit, because Tuscany Groves has now taken that second place away from Jake Woodrow. Now then, Tuscany, just 16 or so seconds down the road is the race leader, Freddie Farrell. He's already completed his 9th lap. The gap is now 16.3 seconds between first and second place. Just got to keep circulating, Freddie. to go on and win this pre-final. There's still a quarter of the race to go, 2.5 minutes or so remain here. Through the right-hander at the top bend is the race leader, the 160. What a fine job he's doing as well, young Freddie Farrell. There's going to see some blue flags in a moment as well, to ensure that the back mark is the 159 of Joe Wood, just to make sure he doesn't impede on Freddie Farrell in any way. He's not going to pull over as they go through the right-hander. And another lap is complete by Freddie Farrell, 44.2 last time round. Fastest lap 44.1, that's a good 1.2 seconds quicker than anybody else in this B final has been round this track this afternoon. So Freddie Farrell certainly got the measure of the back end of the table of drivers for the DRS100. Remember, these drivers haven't quite made it into the main final, but still championship points to be had, still opportunities for placings. At the moment, Freddie Farrell is doing just about everything he needs to do. He's got a minute to go, plus that one final lap. And Tuscany Groves, did the gap ever come down? No, it's not. It's going up every lap by around between 0.7 of a second and a second every single lap. So he's doing a super job here. Is Freddie just driving away at the front of this field. "12 laps have been complete." There's Tuscany Groves, the 148. Through the left-hander of the horseshoe, up towards the closing stages of the lap. We've got 15 or so seconds to go. Leader's already through to complete his next lap. So there's 2 to go for the race leader. It'll be a lap or so once they come round to see the last lap board, because the time will be up by the time. In fact, the time is up now. For 10 minutes plus a lap. And don't underestimate the importance of just winning races like this for young drivers' confidence, just to make sure that they get the advantage and the benefit of leading races and that experience, that exposure to being at the front of groups. It's certainly doing Freddie Farrell no harm at all at the moment. He's on his last lap now, is Freddie Farrell. He's heading up towards the right-hander of the Han hairpin. He's got actually another back marker to come across, but I don't think he'll get there before this race finishes. That's Ruby Smith in 4th place. So Isaac Kite, the only retirement. Ruby Smith in 4th, Joe Wood in 5th, Jake Rudwar a fairly lonely 3rd place, and then Tuscany Jones finishes next up. But here's your race leader, who's about to be a race winner, and the B final then is won by the 160 of Freddie Farrell. Tuscany Groves is, just to give you an indication of the dominance of Freddie Farrell, Tuscany Groves is still halfway around the previous lap, just heading up now towards the right-hander at top bend, and will drop down the hill to take 2nd place in the B final. Tuscany Groves. 3rd will be Jake Woodrow, and Ruby Smith and Joe Wood will all complete the formalities of that B final, and we can now head towards the business end. We can head towards the first of the main finals, the first of the trophy winning finals. It's for the DRS 62s. They're on the dummy grid, and we'll head down to speak to the drivers who could be in contention in just a few minutes' time. So our final race of the day then is for the DRS100s. We've had a Group A, we've had a Group B, now we've just got one final sprint between them all. I'm just going to grab Andy very, very quickly because I love this format, Andy. I love the fact that you split them off and then they all get together and some of them won't have seen each other all day and all of a sudden they've got a scrap with each other going into the first corner.
Exactly. So it's everyone will have had a different day up until now. Yeah, there'll be some drivers that haven't raced against, so maybe someone's got a different line, different technique. So yeah, it'll be a mixed bag.
Good. There's a couple I want to speak to, so if we could just hold on the time for me, that'd be fantastic. Don't tell Jane, she'll be fine. There's a couple I want to speak to. I want to go and speak to a couple of rookie drivers actually at the middle to the back of the field. I want to dive over here. I want to speak to Ron Marsden, who's the first of the rookie drivers, I think, in the field. How pleased are you with your day's work so far?
I'm pleased with it, yeah.
Outside of the six row here, 6 row outside row 12th on the grid. A couple of nice drivers to get hold of and get a tour from and try and pick up some places. Is that the plan? Just get as high as you can?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And obviously a debut in the series today. Obviously there's a rookie trying to be the top rookie as well. But have you got a target? Have you got, is top 10 a good finish? Is top 5 a good finish? Can you get there?
I will try my best, yeah.
Good man, and all the best. I just want to head back. There's a couple. Okay, so I'm told that is my time. So we will allow the DRS 100s to get us underway. As we promised, we always promise fantastic racing from this class. It's our final race of the day. Stay tuned then for the DRS 100s Grand Final. So then, last race of the day, the DRS 100 Grand Final. As we said, on the grid. No A, no B. Just the best of both groups. Gonna squabble it out for championship points for the race win here at round 1 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series 2022 at Clay Pigeon. Right then. So Tristan Powell and Daniel Weir on the front row. Arch Cole, Charlie Ratford, Maximilian Solarski, Sherry-Ann Powell, Jamie Scott, Oscar Walmsley-Jones, Liam Karblov. God, we've got just race winners everywhere, haven't we, in this field? Absolutely everywhere. We've got retirement. Eldon Holland had a tough first weekend here. Remember, this final race on Facebook, our Facebook page, it's on YouTube. Who's your money on? Let us know in the comments section. We've got a false start for the first one. They never really got going, did they? It wasn't really a false start, because I don't think anybody thought they were starting the first time out. Who's your money on in this final race of the day? Who will get the top rookie? There's some really good rookie performances. I was hoping to chat to Cassidy Southall on the grid. Didn't quite have time. I'm quite impressed by her today. Ron Marsden, who we spoke to, super job on his debut in the series as well. It all comes down to this for these junior drivers. Who'll be in the first corner first? That's the first job for them. Can they all get through the first corner? Tristan Powell and Daniel Weir almost eyeballing each other as they go over start finish. Powell, Weir's got the best of the starts. Oh, did they go? They didn't go. They can't have gone. No, they didn't. I can't see the lights here, so I'm sort of guessing when I see how fast they go into the first corner. They haven't gone because we've got a car stranded, the 114 of Archie Potter. Now, where was Archie Potter meant to be on the grid? They were very, very slow as they came down. If that was a start, Daniel Weir would have got the jump. There's no doubt about that. So Tristan Powell will have learned from that. He will have an idea from it. He'll have a plan. He'll know that he won't want that to happen again. Keep an eye on the drivers in behind as well. Alexa Salarski is certainly dangerous from a couple of rows back. Charlie Radford's shown good pace. Archie Cole has been there or thereabouts as well. They're a bit quicker this time. Again, Weir looks across to Powell. Powell hits the gas, and they do go this time. Powell's got the best of the starts. Radford trying to go up into second place. He has gone up into second place, although round the outside goes Daniel Weir, and Daniel Weir has held on to that second, and now he needs to get after the race leader as quickly as he possibly can. They can't afford Tristan Powell to disappear in the distance here. Just be wary, boys, if you all start to, boys and girls, if you all start to squabble over the minor placings, you are going to play right into the hands of Tristan Powell at the front of this field. Powell then, it is who leads. Great start from Maximilian Salarski. Such a good starter, isn't he? Maximilian Salarski puts himself right up there in terms of the major placings as they head down to complete the first lap. There he is, Salarski into second place. Super start from him. He made 4 places on that first lap, and he closes right up under brakes into Billy's blind for the second time. 12 minutes plus a lap. Look at Salarski all over the back of Tristan Powell. He's got pace from nowhere. Maximilian Salarski looks to the outside. Will he switch to the inside? No. Powell goes on the defensive very, very early. It's a long race, Tristan, if you're going to go like that. And Salarski's down the inside, says, nope, not having that defending from you. I will go down the inside. And he's gone down the inside. And Maximilian Salarski has hit the front after just 2 laps here. Can he scamper away at the front of this field? Salarski then leads. Tristan Powell in second place. Here is the move. Opportunistic, late on the brakes, although you could have driven a bus through the gap that Tristan Powell left behind on the way into the left-hander of the horseshoe. Into the right for the 4th time of asking now at the Han hairpin. What's going on behind? Right. So we've got Daniel Weir in 3rd, and then we've got a move for 4th, which is the 156 of Archie Cole, who's gone past Charlie Radford. Charlie Radford looks over his shoulder and we'll see the pink helmet of Sherry-Ann Powell, who is in 6th place. After them comes Liam Karbeloff and James Kochelek, 7th and 8th. Oscar Walmsley-Jones 9th. I'm sure he would have wanted to be had a little bit of a better start. And Daniela Sutton is 10th, and Freddie Cox is 11th, and Hallie Hicksman is 12th. Ethan Critchley, is 13th. Bryn Calder is 14th. Where's our top rookie? So Ron Marsden is 19th, and Ben Hoy and Cassidy Southall all just around about together in 19th, 20th and 21st. So good battle over them placings at the moment. Right then, back to the front where Salarski is turning the screw here on Tristan Powell. He's turning the screw and he's already a comfortable advantage for that young man, and he's just done the fastest lap of the race so far. Wow, he took 0.7 of a second away from Tristan Powell. So Maximilian Salarski seems to have got the measure here. Seems to have did all his hard work in the first couple of laps to stay in touch, and they've got that set up absolutely bob on. He is driving away at the front of this field is Maximilian Salarski. Second place for Tristan Powell. Don't underestimate what a good weekend's work it will have been for him, even if he doesn't win the race. And then look at the battle for third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth places. It starts with Daniel Weir. It ends at the back of this gaggle of 4 carts with Oscar Walmsley-Jones, and in between is Archie Cole, Charlie Radford, Sherry-Ann Powell and James Kochelek. Daniela Sutton is 9th, Freddie Cox is 10th, Hallie Hinksman 11th, and then Bryn Calder, Maximilian Reid and Aaron Mensah. Actually top 14, Ethan Critchley's had something go awry. Oh, is that Ethan Critchley there? Because he hasn't completed the 5th lap. Yeah, retirement for Ethan Critchley. So then, race leader 43 flat for Salarski, 43.3 for Powell. He's got no answer at all for the pace of Maximilian Salarski at the moment. What a battle on behind. Weir holding off everyone at the moment. Cole, Ratford, Powell, Walmsley-Jones, Kochelek, Sutton. How far is Danielle Sutton from the back of James Kochelek? She took 4/10 of a second out of him last time round. Just keep an eye on Daniela Sutton. The number 143. Freddie Cox just behind her. But these two could suddenly and certainly be in what is already a 6-cart battle for 3rd place. Could we make it an 8-cart battle for 3rd place? That'd be entertaining, wouldn't it, for us in the closing stages? We're just come up to half distance. They've done 7 laps. It's going to be a 15-lap final, this. Weir, Cole, and then Sherry-Ann Powell down the inside of Radford. Charlie Radford has lost that place to Sherry-Ann Powell. It was a well-executed move, and Sherry-Ann Powell's going to lose a place as well. So in turn, Oscar Walmsley-Jones down the inside of Sherry-Ann Powell, and then Powell takes it back and says, no, I'll keep hold of this one, thank you very much, and then shuts the door on Oscar Walmsley-Jones. Super driving from Sherry-Ann Powell to take back that place, to be aggressive on the defence, and now can set her sights on the new 4th place man, because Daniel Weir has lost a place to Archie Cole. Now then, all these drivers will be looking for a podium. They'll all think they've got a good chance of a podium. Karbalov, penalty. The 130 of, where is he? He's down all the way down in 19th. Well, it doesn't really matter about a penalty when you're all the way down in 19th, I don't suppose. Here come the leaders. The battle rages for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Sherry-Ann Powell again just now starting to dive up the inside. She might get hung out to dry here. Got to be very, very careful, Sherry-Ann. She tried to go down round the outside and keep hold. She's going to be all right. Tried to go down the outside, keep hold of Weir. Now she's going to the inside of Weir. Can she make it stick in the top bench? She does. Super move from Sherry-Ann Powell. She just want to hang him on the outside if she can as well. She has done. Very, very, very clever from Sherry-Ann Powell. She said, oh, if you're not going to brake and try and get me on the slingshot on the way out, I'll just hang you on the outside of the circuit, and you'll have to slow down. You'll have to stop, or you'll just run out of road. Very, very clever, very mature from Sherry-Ann Powell. Now then, is she the favourite for 3rd place at the moment? The place that's currently held by Archie Cole. What we do know about Sherry-Ann Powell is she is she comes on late in games, in races, doesn't she? She generally starts to perform about this time, really. About this time in grand finals, Sherry-Ann Powell just pops up in a position where you think, oh, hang on a minute. She could be on for a podium or a race win. At the moment, she's in between Archie Cole and Oscar Walmsley-Jones. James Kochelek is in 6th. Charlie Radford has dropped to 7th. Daniel Weir has gone all the way back into 8th after a really promising start, a really strong start. Now back into 8th. I love some of the hand signals that are given on the paddock wall here as drivers come past. There's all kinds of manner of crazy hand signals that goes on. Right, race leader has 4.9 second advantage. Unbelievable work from Maximilian Salarski. There's no question of the lead at the moment, although Salarski's going to come across some back markers soon. We just need to make sure he gets through those with a minimum amount of fuss. Second, no danger for Tristan Powell at the moment. The race we're interested in is this one. Third, fourth, fifth and sixth. Sherry Ann Powell today, she's going to lose out to Oscar Walmsley-Jones. She went to the inside to Faith, then she went to the outside. She's got picked off on the outside. She has to go around the outside of him again if she wants to hold on to a place. She's not going to. She might lose another one to James Kochalek, or will she? No, she won't. So she's back down to fifth. Battle rage is so tricky, isn't it, for these young drivers? If they try and have a pop at the one in front, they run the risk of losing out to the one behind. It's a little bit of give, a little bit of take when racing at such close quarters. Salarski then is about to come across some back markers. He's about to hit Ben Hoy, Cassidy Southall and Rowan Martin, who are all in their own little race for the top rookie. But here comes the leader. We should have some blue flags, I'm sure, about to come out, because Salarski won't want to get held up. He can afford to lose a little bit of time, he can, but he won't want to. He's just got through a couple of them. One of them was the number 5 of Henry Foote. What a tough weekend Henry Foote's had. He's circulating right at the back of the field at the moment. Again, another driver who we usually see towards the sharp end. He's certainly a top 5 driver here at the Daniel Ricciardo Series, but he's not having the best of times out there at the moment. Now the next job for Tristan Powell in second place is to also navigate through these back markers. Right, what's happening in our battle for third, fourth, fifth and sixth? Archie Cole, 156, third. Oscar Walmsley-Jones, 128 is fourth. And then Sherry Ann Powell, the number 6, is fifth. Here they come over the line to complete another life. That's the 128 now of Oscar Walmsley-Jones, who's moved up ahead of Archie Cole. Been quietly going about his business really well, hasn't he? Cole's got a big problem here. I think he's got a big grip problem, Archie Cole. He was awfully wide on the way through Billy's blind. He's going to try and attack Sherry Ann Powell again, but he went very wide. He's not going to make that stick, I don't think. I think Sherry Ann will just pick him off on the way out. Yeah, she will. But yeah, I think he's got a problem, has Archie Cole, with the handling of that DRS car. So now the question is, Sherry Ann Powell, James Kochalek both look fairly racy in fourth and fifth. They've got to try and hunt down Oscar Walmsley-Jones, who is currently in third. Archie Cole looks like, he's got massive understeer problems as he goes into Billy's blind. So that setup has run out of steam, it's fair to say. I think Archie Cole is going to struggle to finish, well, probably where he is at the moment. He's going to have Charlie Radford before too long, and Daniel Weir and Daniela Sutton and Freddie Cox to contend with as well. So Walmsley-Jones, has he got the measure of Sherry Ann Powell for time? Let's see. We've just done a fastest lap of the race for Maximilian Salarski, who's just breezing it at the front of this field at the moment at 42.8 for him. Done 16 laps. How long have we got left? We've got 15 seconds, so they'll be so they're on the second to last lap now. Where is our leader? He's just going through the left-hander of the horseshoe. Some drive, isn't it? Some drive from Maximilian Salarski. Here is Sherry Ann Powell in fourth place. Don't think she's going to have the time now to get on terms with Oscar Walmsley-Jones. She didn't take much out of him on the last lap, a couple of hundredths of a second. She's going to need to put something really stunning in these closing stages to close that gap on Oscar Walmsley-Jones. She's also got to consider James Kochalek behind. What's happening in the battle for top rookie? Well, Cassidy Southall has gone up ahead of Rowan Marsden into 18th place, the 162. Aaron Mensa's just ahead of her. It's the next target, and Jamie Scott is ahead of them. Jamie Scott's had a tough couple of races as well, hasn't he? Up there in the top 3 at one point today. Just shows you how quickly it can change as Salarski dispatches of another back marker, and he's about to come round and receive the checkered flag. Salarski then wins. Super drive from Maximilian Salarski. Tristan Powell, this will tell you about how dominant he's been. Tristan Powell isn't here yet. He crosses the line now. Second place. I'm assuming Walmsley-Jones is fairly clear. He is fairly clear, I think, of Sherry Ann Powell. Yes, down they come now. It'll be a podium for Oscar Walmsley-Jones. Sherry Ann Powell will come home in fourth. Good drive from Sherry Ann. James Koscielek as well into 5th. Archie Cole did hold on to 6th place ahead of Charlie Ratford. Daniel Way will be disappointed, I'm sure, with 8th place. Freddie Cox managed to find a way past Daniela Sutton in the closing stages for 9th. She came home in 10th with Bryn Calder 11th, Sam Halley-Hinksman in 12th and Maximilian Reid in 13th. Our top rookie was indeed Cassidy Southall to round off an all-round good weekend for her. Rowan Marsden just behind in 19th place. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that the first weekend of the season. The first round of the Daniel Ricciardo Series has given us, we've come to expect it now, hasn't it? It's given us some excellent racing, some close racing indeed. We'll be back with the trophy presentation just around about 5:15. And then from here, we head on in 3 weeks' time to the Midlands. We go to Wilton Mill for round 2, but we go there with 3 new championship leaders who will all be looking to extend and protect those championship leads. We will see you all again at 5:15 for the trophy presentation. And welcome back, everyone, to the trophy presentation for round 1 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series here at Clay Pigeon. We will kick right off with the DRS100 B final, that opportunity for the drivers who didn't quite make it through to the A final, but what we did see was a super drive from the winner, a gap of over 22 seconds in the end from our B final winner, number 160, Freddie Farrell. And the DRS 62s then, so split this year to incorporate the Academy top 3 as well, those drivers undertaking their first season in the Daniel Ricciardo Series. So 3rd place of the Academy drivers, a 12th place finish overall for Jensen Woodhouse. In 2nd place, 11th overall, 2nd of the Academy drivers, number 64, Cruz Dalton. And today's Academy winner, 6th place overall, a fantastic drive from the DRA plate, Bailey Wolf. Ladies and gentlemen, your DRS Academy top 3.
It's off because of the feedback, it's down because of the feedback. Yeah.
On to our DRS Supers then. In 3rd place, number 5, Nat Johnston. And a battle that we hadn't really seen all day until it came down to the last couple of laps. And it could have swung either way with a couple of hairy moments, including some back markers as well. But 2nd place today, our number 4 of Ewan Scott. And our Super DRS 62 winner at round 1 here at Clay Pigeon, number 3, Oscar Walsh. Put your hands together for the DRS62 Super Top 3.
Well done, boys. Thank you.
On to our juniors then, the DRS100s, and we start with our top rookies. Some really excellent performances from the rookie drivers, in particular this driver who was excellent in the heat and the pre-final, and managed to get on top of all the other rookies in terms of placings in the main final as well. Our rookie of the day is number 162, Cassidy Southall. Well done, Cassidy. And the DRS 100 top 3, another excellent race from our DRS 100s. In third place, the number 128 of Oscar Walmsley Jones. In second place, the number 154 of Tristan Powell. And once he got out front, he was the dominant driver of the DRS 100s. It's an initial championship lead and a first win of the season for Maximilian Salarski. Our DRS 100 top 3, ladies and gents.
What else are missing there? The same as second, Mark Lawrence. What else are missing?
We've got rookie, DRS 125 top rookie.
There isn't one, is there?
There's another one. No, there's not. No.
Okay.
So on to our DRS 125s to close the show. In third place, came on really strongly at the end as well, the DRS play of Firas Bilbezi. In second place, also taking home our Masters Award as well for the day, number 7, Mark Lawrence. And today's winner, another dominant performance, gap of over 6 seconds to everybody else. Our winner today for the DRS 125s, number 5, Oliver Owen. Our DRS 125 drivers, our top 3, everybody. And that's it from us today here at Clay Pigeon, where we've completed round 1 of the Daniel Ricciardo Series. In just 3 weeks' time, we'll be heading north and a little bit east to Wilton Mill for round 2. We'll see you then. goes. There's a little bit of contact between the two of them. Oh, there's contact. There's contact. And there's contact between Sharon Powell and Campbell Pilling.